The checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma. According to the summary protocol of the 2024 parliamentary elections, Georgian Dream received the support of 53.93% of the voters and will be represented in the parliament with 89 mandates. 4 opposition parties passed the electoral threshold and the Coalition for Change party received the most, 19 mandates. Unity National Movement has 16 mandates, Strong Georgia has 14, Kaharia for Georgia 12. The first session of Parliament is to take place in 10 days period after the announcement of the final summary protocol. After the opening speech of the CEC chairman Georgi Kalandarishvili, a debate broken out between opposition commission member David Kirtadze and himself. Kirtadze called him a black mark and threw black paint at chairman Kalandarishvili, after which he was ejected from the meeting room. Kirtadze referred to black-marked ballots violating the secrecy of the vote. Those protesting against the stolen elections use black dots as a symbol of violating their right to free and fair election. Signing of the protocol went without any opposition members in the meeting room. The National Bank of Georgia has published a draft amendment to the regulation on determining and imposing monetary fines on commercial banks and their administrators for public consultations. The amendment largest transactions prohibited under existing legislation, including BM.GE instructions, regulation, rules and resolutions, and/or with the requirements and written instructions of the BM.GE, non-compliance with restrictions, limits, requirements and prohibitions. For instance, the BM.GE is authorized to impose a monetary penalty on a commercial bank in the amount of 0.4% or 1% of the supervisory capital existing as the last reporting date when the violation was detected, in addition to the current 0.1% or 0.5% or 0.1%. The draft amendment is available on the BM.GE website for public consultation. However, BM.GE's Governor Natia Turnava's regulation is met with overall silence. In October 2024, the volume of money transfers from abroad constitute $281 million, which is 1.5% or $4.4 million less than the amount in October 2023. 95.7% is the total money transfers from abroad came from 24 largest partner countries, with the volume of transfers from these countries each exceeding $1 million in October 2024. External merchandise trade of Georgia amounted to USD 19,022 million in January-October period of 2024, 5.5% higher year-on-year. The value of export increased by 7.4%, reaching $5,468 million, while the import increased by 4.8% and amounted 13,554 million Georgian lari and amounted to $13,554. On November 15th, the National Statistics Service of Georgia published adjusted data showing that in 2023 the country's real gross domestic product increased by 7.8% compared to the previous year, reaching 80 billion Georgian lari, which is $29 billion at current prices. According to Geostat, the following sectors made a significant contribution to GDP growth: information and communication, education, wholesale and retail trade, repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles, construction, public administration and defense, compulsory social security, transportation and storage. In the same period, a decrease was noted in the following sector: real estate activities, agriculture, forestry and fishing, and mining and quarrying. On November 14th, the National Statistics of Georgia commenced its Decennial Population and Agriculture Census, with data collection scheduled to continue until December 19th. The full budget is 29 million lari, and the process will unfold in two stages. The first stage, from November 14 to November 23, features a self-registration period during which participants can complete electronic questionnaires independently using any internet-enabled device. The first result of the census will be published in June 2025. The full report will be available in June 2026. The assets of Georgia's pension agency have surpassed 5.8 billion Georgian lari, with total generated profit reaching 1.3 billion lari. The pension agency reported over the past year since the introduction of three distinct portfolios: dynamic, balanced and conservative. The dynamic portfolio keeps showing the best performance. The primary difference between these portfolios lies in their allocation to global stocks, with the dynamic portfolio holding 53% in the stocks, the balanced portfolio 32%, and the conservative portfolio 18%.
This is The Checkpoints. I'm Elena Gela, author and the host of the show, and the Checkpoints team is ready to sum up Business and Economics Week for you. According to the Association of Young Lawyers of Georgia, the European Court of Human Rights registered a complaint against the draft law on transparency of foreign influence. As is known, the law was appealed to the European Court of Human Rights on behalf of 16 media organizations, 120 civil society organizations, and 4 individuals. The complaining party disputes the violations of freedom of assembly and association, freedom of expression, right to protection of personal and family life, discrimination, right to effective means of legal protection, and the scope of use of rights with limitations. The European Court of Human Rights dismissed the complaint against the Russian law. Georgian Young Lawyers Association and others versus Georgia registered. The mentioned fact once again exposes the false information spread by the government media, as if non-governmental organizations did not send a complaint against the Russian law to the Strasbourg court. Gela reminds the public that the Russian law was appealed to the European Court of Human Rights on behalf of 16 media organizations, 120 civil society organizations, and 4 individuals. The applicants have the right to freedom of assembly and association protected by the European Convention on Human Rights, Article 11, freedom of expression, Article 10, right to protection of private and family life, that's Article 8, discrimination, Article 14, effective legal protection. They are disputing violations of the right to remedies, Article 13, and the scope of use of rights with limitations, Article 18. On November 14, the National Statistics Office of Georgia, Geostat, commenced its Decennial Population and Agricultural Census, with data collection scheduled to continue until December 19. The census process will unfold in 2 stages. The first stage, from November 14 to November 23, features a self-registration period during which participants can complete electronic questionnaires independently using any internet-enabled device. This option provides flexibility for individuals unable to participate in face-to-face interviews. Participants who complete the electronic form will receive a unique code to present to Geostat interviewers during in-person visits. The second stage, running from November 29 to December 19, will involve up to 12,000 interviewers collecting door-to-door data using tablets. In addition to demographic information, the census encompasses an agricultural component that collects data on land use livestock and household farming activities across various administrative levels in Georgia. All Georgian citizens, foreign residents planning to stay for over 12 months, and the stateless persons in Georgia must participate. Geostat is committed to ensuring data confidentiality as mandated by Georgian law, emphasizing that individual responses will remain protected under current legislation. Preliminary results are anticipated in June 2025, with the final data set to be released in June 2026. Let us now take a look at how the economy performed this week in our short overview.
In Georgia, we take our responsibility to address the climate crisis and have already undertaken significant steps to make a meaningful impact, said Georgian Prime Minister Bakidze at the 29th United Nations Climate Change Conference in Baku, Azerbaijan. According to Prime Minister, Georgia is committed to ongoing efforts to mainstream climate action in the national budget through annual assessments, enabling it to measure the impact of climate change on expenditures and economic development. This work identifies mitigation and adaptation costs and promotes partner collaboration, laying foundations for coordinating climate finance to enhance resilience and achieve NDC targets. Effective climate policy development alongside transformative programs and decoupling of economic growth in developing countries depends heavily on the successful alignment of global financial flows with the Paris Agreement's objectives. Substantial financial support, technical assistance and technology transfer to developing nations are all crucial for effective implementation of their ambitious climate targets, said the Prime Minister. External merchandise trade of Georgia amounted to $19 million in January-October 2024, 5.5% higher year-on-year, according to the preliminary data from the National Statistics Office of Georgia. As of the document, the value of export increased by 7.4%, reaching $5 million, while the import increased by 4.8%, amounted to $13 million. The trade deficit equaled $8.8 million, and its share in the trade turnover constituted 42.5%. The Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development, Levan Davitashvili, announced that the Trans-Caspian Caucasian Green Energy Corridor project, in which Georgia is actively involved, is a significant international initiative linking Georgia to Europe via an underwater high-voltage transmission line in the Black Sea. He made this statement to the media during the Georgian government delegation's visit to Baku for the United Nations Climate Change Conference. The presentation of this project with the framework of this meeting is highly symbolic. Today's global agenda on climate change mitigation is closely tied to green energy and energy policy, as energy sector is a major contributor to climate changes. In Georgia, over 60% of climate impact originates from this sector. Thus, it's essential that global efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions are integrated into projects like this one, with Georgia, Azerbaijan, Romania and Hungary are jointly developing, Davitashvili remarked. He emphasized that the project is critically important for Georgia from both energy and economic perspectives. The project enhances the attractiveness of Georgia's economic sector to investors and is vital for energy independence of both Europe and Georgia. Its implementation will significantly transform the economic landscape of South Caucasus, he stated. The Revenue Service's return of $423 million in tax debts for 56,340 individuals as part of the tax relief initiative. According to the Revenue Service, enforcement measures such as mortgages and property seizure will be automatically cancelled. This initiative by Georgian government will benefit all taxpayers, including businesses that require the cancellation of recognized tax debts, including accrued taxes arising before January 1, 2021. Reconstruction of Tbilisi's port palace is set to commence shortly, announced Tbilisi Mayor Kaha Kaladze during a municipal government meeting. According to Kaladze, this port palace has been the primary venue for sports, culture and social activities for decades. However, its current condition is far from satisfactory. The mayor clarified that the reconstruction will involve upgrades to the flooring, sittings, walls, dressing rooms, VIP entrances, furniture and other facilities. Given that Sport Palace is a historic building, the authenticity of its materials will be preserved. Additionally, the Sport Palace will be equipped with modern multifunctional systems including advanced lighting, sound, video, screen, stages, flooring, broadcasting capabilities, special effects and various other types of equipment, he stated. Mayor Kaha Kaladze expressed his belief that the renovated Sport Palace will host a variety of sports, culture and social events. Nadia Churneva, the acting governor of National Bank of Georgia, presented collector coins to the national football team to mark the team's success at the European Football Championship 2024 in Germany this summer, the bank said on Thursday. Churneva noted the collector coins would always be symbolically connected with the success of Georgian national team, and they handed over silver coins to the football players and gold coins to the team's coach Decennial. She pointed out that the BM.GE had the exclusive right to issue coins for collecting purposes, adding traditionally the coins are dedicated to the themes important to Georgia. The BM.GE decided to issue the coins following the national football team's first ever qualification for UEFA Euro 2024 after defeating Greece in the playoff final in March. The number of bovine animals decreased by 1.3% at the end of Q3 2024 compared to the Q3 of 2023 and reached 848,000 heads, according to the preliminary data from the National Statistics Office of Georgia, of which the total number of dairy cows and buffaloes equal to 401,000 heads, which was 5.2% less than the same indicator of the previous year. The number of pigs equal to 213,000 heads, which is 12.6% more than at the same period of the previous year. The number of poultry decreased by 1.7% compared to the same period of the previous year and equaled 9.4 million heads, according to the preliminary data. In Q3 2024, milk production decreased by 0.2% compared to the same period of the previous year and amounted to 171 million liters. Wheat production increased by 6% from the same period of the previous year and equaled 90.5% tons. In Q3 2024, egg production amounted to 153 million pieces, which is 0.4% less than in the same period of the previous year.
The CEO of Azerbaijan Tourism Board declares that the country still has tourism traffic despite the closure of land borders for 4 years. Florian Sengstschmid stated that in an interview with the BM.GE Azerbaijan bureau. According to the official data of the Azerbaijan Tourism Board, the number of tourists from Georgia to Azerbaijan was down by 85% in January-October 2024 compared to the pre-pandemic period. It is 9% higher than the figures for 2023. In particular, in the first 10 months of 2024, 90,894 arrivals from Georgia were recorded in Azerbaijan, while in the corresponding period in 2019 there were 593,476 arrivals. As for the general statistics, in the first 10 months of the current year, over 2 million visits from abroad were recorded in the country, which was 28% higher than the same period in 2023, although it was 18% lower than the data for the first 10 months of 2019. Azerbaijan closed its land borders in spring 2020. The official reason was the COVID pandemic. According to the latest data, the special quarantine regime in the country has been extended until on January the 1st, 2025. Entry into Azerbaijan is only possible by air.
To answer to our questions, and then which countries could possibly open the tourism bureau in Azerbaijan? Yes, please.
I think you mean outbound travelers from Azerbaijan to the world. Azerbaijan has been starting a lot of new connectivities. Azerbaijanis especially love to travel to sun and sea destinations during summer months, in this regard, the traffic to Turkey is very high, to all the beautiful beach destinations. But I think also that Azerbaijanis love to travel to Georgia. Over the past years, the numbers of Azerbaijanis traveling and visiting Georgia is very high. So I think that also between the neighboring countries there is a good number of traffic.
Yeah, and then, Mr. Florian, are there any plans to open a tourism bureau in all the countries?
For now, the Azerbaijan Tourism Board has a representative office in Israel. There is recently in October we also opened a representative office in Moscow, and very soon, beginning 25, we'll be opening also a representative office in Istanbul. So this is basically also reflecting the core markets in the region of travel movement.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Florian. And then, which measures does Georgia apply to develop tourism?
Azerbaijan or Georgia? I think I better refer to Azerbaijan because you will ask the colleagues from the GNTA what they are doing and what they are applying in Georgia. For us, very important is always the balance between a social, economic, and ecological development. So basically, there is a lot of examples where when we develop tourism, it should first-hand also benefit the locals who are living in villages, especially in the regions. And one example is Pascal. It's a beautiful village famous for the Kelahai silk print, right? And Pascal, some years ago, was really not a place to visit. Although there is beautiful hammam, 15th century. There is like amazing forest, natural resources, and there is also the center of Kelahai printing. Now with infrastructure, with a hotel nearby, it also gives the opportunity for local to develop business activities and for travelers to immerse in this beautiful site. So I think this is what we will continue to do, is like in places around the regions, especially in Azerbaijan, to develop this amazing number of resources into immersive travel experiences.
Exactly, this wonderful idea.
Yes, and especially there is a lot of these resources available.
Yeah, and then Mr. Florian, how does the closing of borders affect of tourism generally?
In general, it's like what we see is that there is still traffic, especially from long-haul travelers visiting the region. So from Azerbaijan to Georgia, foreigners are allowed to cross the border, and we see actually this is working very well. So the northwestern region, when we look at Sheki, Sakatala, Gach, I still don't see a big drop of numbers. Because of increased number of local travelers and also foreigners who cross basically from Azerbaijan towards Georgia.
Mr. Florian, and the end questions. Please, what are the activities doing in Karabakh to develop tourism?
There is a lot of beautiful already developments with regard to tourism. Tourism is a beneficiary, Infrastructure, roads are built, accessibility is granted. So that's the baseline for tourism, right? Apart from that, there is also hotels recently opened in Akhdam City Hotel. You have in Shusha beautiful hotels, conference hotels, locations. You have already have infrastructure also built in other regions. So I think the progress is extremely fast and extremely beautiful, and an enormous potential awaits. Whether this is Tuch, Azur, Shusha, obviously as the pearl, cultural pearl of Azerbaijan. So I think there is a lot to come, and for us it's great to see that the progress is very fast, and inshallah very soon we can see a lot of more travelers also experiencing Karabakh region.
Yeah, Mr. Florian, thank you to give us full and interesting answers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
The Central Bank of Armenia has proposed to legally reduce the inflation target from 4% to 3%. The relevant draft law amending the area state budget law was presented to the National Assembly by Central Bank Chairman Martin Galstian. According to Galstian, although achieving a lower inflation rate is challenging, this measure will help reduce interest rates on loans and the expected return on business investments. The central bank governor expressed confidence in the initiative's success, highlighting the high international regard for Armenia's monetary policy. The central bank acknowledges that in the short term, lowering the target inflation rate will have a minimal impact on fiscal policy. However, in the medium and long term, it will create a more stable and predictable economic environment. Armenia's 2024 state budget anticipates economic growth of 7% with inflation set at 4%. I'll move on to Shotat Gashelashvili, who spoke with accounting and financial expert Gela Barshov about the new law that concerns the status of the loans given by companies' founders to their companies, which now can be qualified as capital contribution and taxed with corporate tax. Accordingly, that can have an effect on many companies, especially the foreign companies operating in Georgia.
Georgian tax law has recently amended. The new law changes are related to requalification loan as capital contribution. Please explain what tax consequences businesses should expect as a result of these changes.
Hello, Shota. If a tax authority of Georgia requalifies intragroup loan as a capital contribution, that means that interest imposed on such a loan will be automatically requalified as a dividend. In Georgia, payment of interest is subject to 5% withholding tax, which can be further decreased to 0% if relevant taxation agreement is in place and applied. But dividend is subject to 15% corporate income tax, and plus potentially 5% withholding tax on dividend will apply. So in short, 0 to 5% rate will be changed to 15 to 20% tax rate, and difference will be levied on company plus penalties and late payment interest. This was regarding the requalification interest, but the tax implication may also be resulted from principal amount. Because if a loan is requalified as a capital contribution, then it's already important what was the exchange rate at the moment of lending the loan and exchange rate between foreign currency and Georgian lari, then the money was taken back by the lender. Yeah? For example, if a German company lends €1 million to its subsidiary Georgian company, and when the exchange rate was 3 to 0, that means €1 million was equivalent of 3 million Georgian lari at the moment of lending the loan. But if I take the loan back after, let's say, 2-3 years, and the exchange rate was 4 to 0, 4 million equivalent in Georgian lari, in case if tax authority will not requalify this transaction as a capital contribution, the German company can take out fully €1 million without taxation. But in case if tax authority requalifies as a capital contribution, in that case, 1 million difference between 4 million lari and 3 million lari will be taxed by corporate income tax, because capital contribution is fixed at the moment of contributing in a Georgian lari and is not revaluated based on exchange rate. So just to sum up, the tax result will be faced as a by requalifying the interest into dividend, and also because of exchange rate regarding the principal amount.
Yes, and what important aspects business should be aware regarding this new law?
Yes, first of all, it should be mentioned that the transfer pricing legislation was amended. So this is 423 decree of the Minister of Finance. The law says the law introduced a new list of criteria for the process of requalification of the loan as a capital contribution. If at least 3 of those criteria will be satisfied, the Georgian Tax Authority will have a right to requalify the loan as a capital contribution and the interest imposed on the loan as a dividend. So at least 3 criteria should be satisfied. Plus, such approach will not apply on interest imposed before 2025. So now companies have time to reevaluate, assess their transactions, understand the risks, and minimize if possible. Okay.
Yes. And what advice would you give to businesses affected by this new law?
So if a Georgian enterprise already has received the loan from its associated non-resident company or from any offshore-based company, that means this transaction is already risk factor, and they need to assess the risk related to this loan. Okay, they need to evaluate each criterion provided by the law, and if they see that at least 3 criteria may be at least theoretically satisfied, that means that it's already risk factor, and they need to use that time, the transactional time, to either eliminate risk if it's possible, or at least decrease as much as possible. So this is a moment when they need to use to manage their tax risks.
Yes. Thank you for your answers, Gela.
Thank you too.
Temur Ugulava's Ajara Holding will rehabilitate the Sports Palace. The rehabilitation of Tbilisi Sports Palace will begin in the first quarter of 2025 and will be completed late in 2026. As the asset management director of Ajara Holding, Otar Berishvili, told BM.GE, the project plans to transform the Sports Palace not only into a sports venue, but also into a facility that will host multifunctional events. Logic Group has invested approximately $5 million since 2007. Logic Group LLC has been managing the Sports Palace completely independently until now. However, from this stage, under the renewed agreement, Ajara Holding will join the management of the Sports Palace. Ajara Holding will make new investments accordingly in line with the new development plan, Berishvili said. According to him, the company manages not only the Sports Palace building, but also the surrounding area. More in business this week from Natia Taktakishvili.
Guram Karazanashvili, the founder of MMT Hospital, declares that 10 million lari was invested in the technological development of MMT Hospital for the last 4 years, of which more than 6 million was intended for the development of robotic surgery. Laparoscopy and open surgery are the early stages. The current standard is robotic surgery because it has all the positive features that laparoscopy and open surgery have together. Therefore, we have robotic surgery today. It means we have Western high-tech standards, Karazanashvili said. According to him, MMT Hospital has taken the path towards the introduction of Western standards from the very beginning. I got my education in Europe and worked in different countries for 10 years. I gained my license in Germany. Therefore, the standard of our clinic is facing the West. Personally, I have always tried to introduce European standards at the clinic, both in terms of technology and patient services, Guram Karazanashvili said. MMT Hospital made the first robotic surgery early this year, and so far, according to the data of 8 months, it has already made 100 surgeries. David Sertsvadze, a businessman and the founder of Zaurabi Group, declares that the suspended EU integration process will affect business sentiments, the country's economy and the population. The suspended process of European integration will definitely affect business sentiments. We may not see the negative effects right now, but in the long term it will have negative results. We already can see the mood of international community. There is no initiative to do new projects in the business. This process, which hinders the development of the country, also affects international attitudes and people. Businessmen think whether to develop the work they are doing or not, David Tsertswadze explained. Zaureb Group is a leading construction and development company operating in the resort real estate segment. The developer is implementing investment projects on the Black Sea coast and in the resorts of Georgia. The company was founded in 2007. Businessman Kaha Khazaradze, the chairman of supervisory board of ICR Group, said while assessing the current events in the country with BM.GE that the business is too passive in the ongoing processes. According to him, the processes have not reflected on the business itself so far because it takes some time. Accordingly, the businessman continues to work as usual. I can't tell you anything interesting at the moment. There are no changes because everyone was waiting for the election, including the partners. Everyone is waiting for how this process will end and they will make a decision. It's a fact that they don't have positive attitude. Our partners are mostly European companies and we have not gone into details. We had a break before the elections. We will start communication from the end of November, the businessman said. ICR Group is one of the largest and most stable organizations in the field of retail business in Georgia. The company started operation on the Georgian market in 1993 and currently has up to 1,000 employees. ICR represents international brands of shoes, clothes, accessories, as well as furniture and food and beverage outlets. Company Aka, general distributor of German giant Mercedes-Benz cars in Georgia, published its financial report for 2023. According to it, the company's sales increased by 60% and reached 200 million lari last year. The net profit of the company has also increased. If in 2022 the profit of LLC Aka stood at 18.8 million lari, in 2023 the company's net profit amounted to 33.6 million lari, which was a 78% increase. Aka company showroom is located on University Street in Tbilisi. According to the financial report, the cost of goods sold by the company amounted to 166 million lari. In addition, the company had administrative expenses of 10.4 million lari. The assets of the company amount to 93 million lari. The company has three shareholders: Salome Asatiani, Maka Asatiani, and Luisa Tavartkiladze. Georgi Maisuradze, the sales manager of Crystal Group, declares that very small tourist flow have been observed from the EU in the last 3 years. As he explains, they don't expect growth during this winter season either. According to him, bookings have increased by 25% compared to the last year, mainly from neighboring countries like Azerbaijan and Armenia. Maisuradze suggests that the growing trend of bookings was caused by the development of infrastructure and the increased popularity of Bakuriani as a result of championship. Currently, for the winter season, an amusement park is being arranged in the area, along with the installation of a new cableway. We have quite high expectations, namely from neighboring countries like Armenia and Azerbaijan. Our prices vary according to the season. The price also differs according to the packages. For example, the price of a double room with breakfast amounts to $100 in December and increases to $160. Unfortunately, very small tourist flows have been observed from the EU in the last 3 years. We don't expect the demand from Europe to increase this year either. Demand has increased a lot from Gulf countries due to the cheap flights, Maisuradze said. According to him, the hotel added 65 new rooms for the winter season in order to satisfy the demand. The company is currently working on a new project with an investment value of $6 million and its completion is planned for 2025. Khatuna Bakuradze, founder of pastry shop Dushev, notes that the company's sales increased by about 20%. In addition, the company declares that 40% of customers are foreigners. Dushev has been operating in the market for 4 years and offers customers European confectionery created by the company's recipes. In addition to Dushev's cafe, it also includes a training school. As of the founder of the bakery, Dushev has 2 branches. However, the company changed the location of Bakev branch and opened a new one on Orbeliani Square. At the beginning of the year, Bakuradze announced the opening of the 3rd branch after a suitable location would be found. We make premium quality products, we increased sales by about 20%. Over 40% of customers are foreigners from France and various European countries. The demand is steadily growing. We have our niche and we have our stable customers, says Bakuradze. Dushev has its own school for 4 years, where it has been implementing a short-term program. According to Bakuradze, they are the only pastry school in Georgia that implements a short-term program and issues a state certificate. The cost of program is 2,500 lari. Although we gradually receive state co-finances, so the cost of the program comes out very affordable. Bakuradze says, as for future plans, the company is actively negotiating with foreign chefs to come to Georgia and hold master classes, as well as Dushev itself plans to enter the international markets. Some of the insurance companies claim that one of the reasons for price increase on private insurance packages is the policy of the health ministry. According to the Geostat, in October, health insurance increased in price by an average 13% annually. As of the insurance company RD, the current staff scheme within the framework of universal health care program is somewhat harmful for the hospital sector, which the clinics try to compensate by growing the price of service for insurance companies. As Mikhail Japaridze, general director of the company, told BM.GE, the increased medical service in turn is reflected in the cost of insurance packages. According to him, the state should change its policy in the medical sector to keep the prices more stable, including to allow the so-called built-in insurance programs. Direct increase in the cost of health insurance is due to the fact that we cannot receive the so-called built-in insurance packages, that citizens not to be punished for using private insurance and not to be excluded from the universal health care program and vice versa. There should be a universal approach when the whole system is discussed jointly by insurance companies, but we have not been able to achieve these results so far, said Mikhail Japaridze. Founded in 2010, RD became one of the most sophisticated insurance service provider in Georgia, having a constant development pipeline since its inception. Anagi, one of the largest construction companies in Georgia, has published its financial report for 2023. According to the document, the group's total revenues improved by 16% last year and reached 400 million lari. In addition, the net profit of the group also improved, amounting to 20 million lari last year, which was 16 million lari more compared to 2022. The company's projects include Highline project by M. Quadrati, Citizen project, Tabori Resort project, as well as Sani Arkisaburtalo, Ajarabet Arena Stadium in Batumi, Kutaisi International Airport, and other projects for various development companies. Company Anagi, along with the implementation of private sector construction projects, is also engaged in the execution of state contracts. A few days ago, the company won the tender of 144 million lari for Army City, announced by the Ministry of Defense. The company is also building Police City project and housing for IDPs in Tbilisi, Kutaisi, and Zugdidi.
According to Google Analytics, the number of readers, users of BM.GE website in October 2024 was 487,000, up by 9% more month over month. As of Google Analytics, these 487,000 readers made a total of 2.3 million sessions on the website, which was 10% or 210,000 more compared to the previous month. In addition, according to Google Analytics, 407,000 BM.GE readers visited the site from Georgia, 15,000 from USA, 8.4 thousand from Italy, over 7,000 from Germany, 5,500 Norway, Russia, and 5,000 from Greece. During the period, 54.1% of BM.GE readers were women and 55.9% were men. Follow us on BM.GE for more news and outlook on business and economics. See you next Sunday.
Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.